So, Coach, how's camp?
Camp's been really good up to this point. Like it's we're 8 practices into it, so we're about 40% of the way through it, and I think the guys are doing a really good job at this point.
Coach said like tomorrow it'll probably be like Harrell and Shire and Rex Roth
Yep.
at linebacker. Is that
Yeah, I would say at this point that's probably where we're at. But it's a healthy competition. I mean, those guys are working their tail off. There's probably as much depth as we've had.
Yeah.
Now, some of the depth is created by youth, and I think we've done an outstanding job recruiting at the position, and I think we're fortunate right now to have a lot of healthy competition there. But those guys will probably take the field first in the first group.
what have you seen from Jaden?
Jaden's been outstanding in terms of leadership, knowledge of the defense. He a lot of ways, just like Jay was, paid real close attention in his time, in those backup roles. And, we're starting to experience it right now with some of the stuff that he's got beneath the surface knowledge-wise that's providing us with a pretty good foundation.
What I know it's not kind of quote unquote under your jurisdiction, but who's been at the cash the most?
The cash has been Lupmer, it's been Cohen. Those two guys have been, really the fixed piece at that position right now. And we've got some younger guys working there. Cale Kaleric's worked there as well. So it's just a mixture, but I would say those two guys have taken most of the reps.
Preston Reese is getting some accolades, for his athleticism. What have you seen from him?
Yeah, Preston's been he's been a great addition from the sense that he just possesses some type of characteristics that you don't typically see out of a freshman, especially what he's done in the weight room, and that's where a lot of that publicity's come from. And I didn't realize until the other day that that freak list had ever come out or had come out yet. And I'm not surprised that he's on there because some of the numbers got out of the weight room and got publicized. But he's been good, and he like the other freshmen, Derek and Cam. Those guys are really building the foundation from the ground up, and it's providing us with a ton of depth that I think will be good for us and beneficial defensively, but it's also going to be very noticeable when it comes to our special teams.
With Carson, it's always been health more than anything else that's kind of kept him back. Healthy now, obviously. How's he look? Has he looked like the guy you've kind of dreamed he'd be?
Yes, and that goes way back.
Yeah.
Back to his freshman year, second year here. Like there were some flashes of just some really good talent, at the linebacker position, and then he's bounced back and forth between being healthy, not being healthy. But based on the last couple snapshots I've had, which would be the back half of spring practice and then the first 8 practices this year, Carson's he hasn't had any hiccups. So knock on wood. I don't see any wood right here, but knock on wood that we stay in that path.
Hey, you're 8 practices in or whatever, and you've still got your voice. Is that a new record?
I was working hard on that last night. We had our media training with the group yesterday, and I could sense that it was. But it's been better this year. It's 25 years in the coaching profession. You'd hope at some point it would just get calloused and keep coming.
Seth, can you talk about Landon Van Kekerix?
Landon Van Kekerix, yes.
Last name,
yes,
right?
Yep.
What was the recruiting process like with him, and then has he got a chance to factor into some serious defensive
He
snaps?
certainly does. And, whether it be Landon, whether it be Jaden Montgomery, I know Coach mentioned the 3 guys that'll probably take the field in the first group tomorrow, but there is a lot of healthy competition there, and Landon's certainly in that mix. And going back to his recruitment, Landon was an FCS kid, and he was from the northwest corner of Illinois. LeVar knew about him. We knew of him, and I'd say his recruitment in a lot of ways is like Seth Benson's. Just being tucked up in that northwest corner and being slated to go to an FCS school, and then we ended up falling in love with him, and he's been great for us. Obviously he made an impact in the Missouri Bowl game. Ran down on a kickoff, had a hell of a play there, and so we're just we're riding the wave right now of some of these guys that are providing depth and hoping to clear the picture up defensively.
Was he a signing day ad?
Yeah,
correctly, or
no,
late
it
in the
was.
process?
Yeah, I still remember being up there caught in a storm and having to stop at a local bar downtown because it was. I mean, when I say it was, it was nasty out, and his dad's calling me, "Hey, did you make it out of town before the storm?" And so no, there was. It wasn't as late as it may have appeared to be. Like we were on him at a good time, and eventually got him turned in this direction.
With this linebacker, I mean, there's so many guys involved. What are you looking for? Maybe as like a key factor to make the decision as who's going to play. Is it consistency, just leadership? Like, what are you looking for?
Yeah, I think the big thing is, we got to put these guys in the fire as often as we can at this point in camp, and then we just really got to see how they navigate the smoke that comes with the fire. And I use that analogy because it's kind of like Norm used to always talk about putting the fire out, being a firefighter. But you got to experience those situations, and sometimes those situations are so unpredictable that you don't know how the fire starts. It's just a matter of going out there and trying to navigate what comes after you feel the heat of the moment or the emotion that goes into it, and that's what these guys are lacking at this point, is enough of that. And I use the word lacking. We just haven't given them enough of it. They're unbelievably knowledgeable when it comes to the defense, and I mentioned earlier, like they've done things in a way in which Jay Higgins did them, a way in which Jack Campbell did them, where when they were buying their time, they paid unbelievable attention. They were incredibly invested, so they know our defense and they know it in and out. They just need those situations where things happen a lot faster than just being able to look at something on the board and make a decision what we're doing.